A ballerina's perspective, from performing with New York City Ballet and Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater to publishing poetry books and mentoring kids and teens. Join us in a weekly discussion with experts to gain mental health clarity and achieve growth and moral consciousness. Give our show a 5 stars, comment, share, and come along for the ride. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth, Grace, and Gratitude podcast. Since Borja Cuan joined the performance advertising industry in 1998 and has built a career providing strategic business solutions for teams and clients. His track record of helping grow stable, successful organizations is underpinned by a career-long personal commitment to great client experiences. Borja combines big picture perspective with exacting attention to make sure 415's clients and team members get value out of their work every day. So, very interesting topic. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing more about the work of business solutions, business growth. It's a wonderful time to go into the world of business. So many people are shifting their careers even to a more kind of soulful alignment. I know people are experiencing the corporate world and starting their own businesses, starting to lean on their own self-worth or self-value and build from the ground up. So tell us a little bit about your inspiration and what kind of brought you here to do everything you're doing with your teams and clients.
Thanks for having me on, Ari. Looking forward to the conversation today. So I co-founded a digital marketing agency about 9 years ago, but I've been in digital marketing for 26 years. I started my career back in 1998. It's really kind of what I've done and what I've enjoyed doing, what I've learned a lot about working for different companies over my career. And that ultimately led me to co-found this agency. My business partner and I both were on the same page, having been on the buying side of media and having worked with agencies quite a bit, that we felt there was a better way to do it. Good agencies out there, no question, who provided really good service and results. But we also found there was a lot of not so great agencies. And we unfortunately had the experience of working with those agencies. And so we said, hey, we've learned so much about digital marketing, and we've worked closely with business owners and founders and entrepreneurs, and we've been in impact roles for various companies that we've been a part of. Let's go out and let's do this on our own. We know what we need to do. We have the sort of redundant skill sets, and we have a pretty good Rolodex of people that we can call on to kind of get this going. And so he and I got together, and we essentially decided to start this agency. And really it was, as I mentioned, because we felt there was a better way to deliver the service, and we were both very customer service oriented, but also very results oriented, which are really the two key components needed to be successful in this business.
If you're ready to shake off that daily stress, come join us for online beginner, adult, ballet, and yoga classes each week to connect with the flow of movement and the art of ballet into perfect synergy. Come as you are and learn to love your body a little bit more and gain strength and flexibility with each class. All are welcome. Sign up at balletartsmovement@gmail.com. First class free. TeloVital supports focus, energy, immunity, sleep, recovery, and resilience. Start feeling better today on a cellular level with Zeolite, super green juice, micronutrient gut support, and more. Get over 50% off your first order for TeloVital. Link in the description of the podcast. That's great. And I think when it comes to digital marketing, a lot of people are kind of learning how to scale what works best for them, how to kind of organize daily scheduling when it comes to like posting, content creation, stuff like that. What is the biggest difference between like growth marketing for high revenue enterprises versus like a beginner or somebody who doesn't have so much experience with like marketing, digital marketing?
Yeah, in many ways, they are similar, if you can believe it. But obviously there are differences, and I think the main difference really is that the former is a lot more experience. They have a lot more history. They've invested a lot more in digital marketing, so have done a lot of experimentation to determine what the right formula is for success, right? They have more history. And that typically means they're generating more revenue, which means they have more budget, which affords them luxuries that a smaller, newer business entering to the market may not have the luxury of, right? So I think our approach might slightly differ in that we have a more limited budget with a new entry, someone who's kind of starting with digital marketing. They're not going to have as big of a budget. Their tolerance will be much less so for bad performance. So we have to be really specific with where we invest the digital marketing dollars and make sure that we're getting some type of return to be able to prove it out and get them to trust and sort of believe in it. So the tactics are, I think, just a little bit probably more, I would say, targeted and specific when you're starting versus when you've been around. You have more revenue, more budget. There's more opportunities for us to do experimentation at a more deep level.
Interesting. That's very cool. What kind of like marketing do you guys do when it comes to like expanding?
Yeah. So our agency specializes in helping businesses scale through digital marketing. So it's very specific to Google, Microsoft, Bing, Meta, LinkedIn, TikTok, Pinterest. So those are the platforms that we're buying media on for the clients that we work with. And really, depending on the client, the type of business they are, the type that, who they're looking to target, we will decide where to deploy that investment. So it may be that they're not running on all of those digital platforms, but only some of them.
Interesting. And in terms of niches changing, becoming more popular and trendy, would you say there's been a big shift in terms of what's more popular, for example, now or versus like during the 1990s? With what
And
brands or what ideas?
I mean, I think the really what has changed are the players, right? So there are more options out there for folks to advertise on, right? In terms of digital platforms, the landscape has become more competitive. These platforms have changed a lot, evolved, where now it's more difficult to be at the top. So over the last ten years, we've had new players enter the market. We've had increased competition. That increased competition has also resulted in the cost of advertising increasing as well. So what that means for an agency like us is we have to be really on top of our game to make sure that the media is efficient for the client that we're representing, right? Because ultimately they need to see a positive return on investment. Otherwise, they're going to, either fire us or reduce budget. So I think when the environment is much more competitive, you really need to align with experts who really understand the different platforms and how to use those platforms to help your business scale, because it's getting just more difficult. And as you know, too, as maybe a consumer yourself, really we're in the business of getting attention, right? There's so many ads out there. There's so many places people are spending their time. How do you get them to engage with your advertisement, right? And it's not easy, right? When there's a very sort of busy space out there. I would say, in terms of our business, it's so varied in terms of the type of companies out there in the categories, to be honest. I don't see in our business, at least, any niche or category that seems to be more popular than another. We work with a lot of different types of businesses. So I'd say for us, it's quite diverse. I will say, one category, I think seasonality plays a role in popularity. That's probably where it matters. So, for example, this quarter four, obviously e-commerce businesses tend to do very well because people are spending a lot of money around the holidays. And then during the first quarter of the year, I think that's when people do their New Year's resolutions and want to get their finances in order and want to get back into shape. And so maybe health and health, wellness, fitness is a popular category, tax is a popular category, things like that. But overall, I haven't seen that one category or niche is, particularly popular for us.
And when it comes to leadership and scaling businesses, talk a little bit about that and maybe also adapting to any business challenges. Podpitch is the first and only software that finds, writes, and sends pitches to podcast hosts from your actual email address. Podpitch will make sure you get podcast bookings, guaranteed. Link in the description of the podcast. ClickFunnels easily build any type of online business and sales funnel in record time, no matter what your product, service, or niche, without any tech design or experience whatsoever. Try the ClickFunnels 14-day free trial. Link in the description of the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you go into business, it's really important to be passionate about what you're doing. Why are you doing what you're doing? It has to be something that you're really passionate about, right? Because I think that the journey is oftentimes bumpy, lonely, and not very glamorous. So you really always want to be doing something that you believe in, right? Because that's going to kind of get you through some challenging times that are effectively inevitable in business. So I think leadership for me is something that has evolved over the years. When I started the agency, I led a certain way, and I think over the years I have evolved, which basically means I've gotten better at leadership, and I've learned a lot along the way through successes and failures, working with the team and listening to the team and getting feedback. And there's a lot of things that I didn't know when I started the agency that I know now, 9 years into it. And I'm sure in 5 or 6 years, I will hopefully be even a better leader then than I am today. So I think leadership, though, is really good leadership is really important when you're trying to scale a business, because I think as you grow your business, things become more challenging in many ways, right? You have more people, and really the human capital side of having a business is probably the hardest part of having a business. If you talk to business owners, I think most of them would say not only attracting talent, but retaining talent is not easy, right? Especially with so much competition out there and so many options for people that are in jobs. And so, where I try to spend a lot of my time as a leader is really building relationships with my team and understanding kind of their personal goals and objectives and helping them achieve those goals and objectives by way of sitting down with them and asking a lot of questions and really understanding what it is that they want to get from this experience at 415 Digital, and then putting a plan together and really mapping it out very specifically and saying, okay, here's what you need to do in order to get to this goal, or get this promotion, get this salary increase, be able to develop this skill set, and really work really closely with them and understanding that and monitoring it along the way. And it's creating an environment where people feel that their contributions are making a difference in our goals and objectives as a company, and really making sure that they know how their role impacts that. So a lot of it is around the people side when I think of leadership, and really developing relationships with the team, not making it always about work, and really getting to know them on a personal level, and allowing them to take a break from work and maybe talk about things that are interesting to them, whether that's family or hobbies or travel or whatever it is, but really kind of taking a break from shop, as I like to say, and just spending time together over lunch or coffee and getting to know each other and developing relationships that way. It can't always be about work, because if you make it all about work, I don't think people get complete fulfillment. I think there's a professional side that's really important, but there's also a human, personal side that I think you want to tap into as a leader to get to know people more deeply.
100%. And I think that is exactly the value of being a good leader. It's having that initial common sense. And sometimes common sense is unfortunately not too common. Interestingly enough, today's actually National Use Your Common Sense Day. So I think it's a great tool for people to kind of realign with, like you mentioned, going with family, taking a pause, taking a day or some time to reflect and understand your own morals and your own mission purpose, and kind of like reevaluate from time to time does also help kind of propel the business towards whatever new alignments and whatever new successes it aims to go towards. So that's really great. And when it comes to, I know a lot of people like the idea to work from home, or some people love going to the office. So what are some tips you have there when it comes to digital marketing or performance advertising?
Well, are you ready for what is an unpopular point of view?
Always.
Yeah, so I have a very strong opinion on not working from home full time as an and by the way, I want to preface that statement by saying depending on where you are in your career, right? If you've already put the time in and you're further into your career and you've spent time in an office next to people learning and you develop certain soft skills and such, maybe it's a little bit different. But I'm saying for your average person who's kind of starting their career, my belief is you really should spend as much time in an office as you can and learn from being next to people, listening to conversations, learning by osmosis, being able to access leaders in person. It's very different. So I think for me, as a business owner, we ended up sort of with a hybrid model, which means people are in the office 3 days a week and working from home 2 days a week. And really, those days that we're in office are very productive and intentional. So we're having coffee together in the afternoon and having lunch together and talking about different things related to business in person. Um, so I really feel that learning in person is accelerated versus being remote. And we've seen that with our own team where we've sort of compared people that have been remote versus people that have been in office. And we've found 10 out of 10 times that people that are in office are learning at a faster rate than those that are remote. And we've also interviewed and hired people that came from remote positions and have been working from home for 5 years, and they come and they start working at our agency and they're in office and they quickly acknowledge that it's a very different pace, a very different intensity, it's a very different experience, not in a bad way, but in a way that challenges them more, and they really get a lot from that. So I think you can work from home and be productive, and there's a time and a place for it, but really I find, even drawing from my own personal experiences in my career, I learned so much from being in an office because I was next to people and I had access to people that I otherwise would not have access to, because doing a Slack conversation or scheduling a Zoom meeting is very different, and it's not the same, right? Versus me just being in the kitchen and saying hi to someone and asking them a quick question. So those water cooler opportunities, as they call them, right? You can, learn on your own and sort of at your own sort of pace. But I think definitely we're pro being in an office together, and we found it to be very productive and helping us build deeper connections with each other.
Unlock your best life with Soul app. Book a holistic wellness experience with a trained guide and start changing your life today with compassion practices, inner healing, food and diet, and so much more. Tap into a healthier and happier life with the number one purposeful living app in the US, the Soul app, link in the description of the podcast. Sanger Daniel's online seminar promoting a positive message of self-healing with bioenergy work together with live seminars and remote coaching. Use code BIO20 for a 20% discount for our audience. Link in the description of the podcast. That's also a great perspective. Kind of people who are relearning how to work in an office space. I feel like understanding their own pace of work and like how they do best in what space, because I know some people who actually thrive working from home, and because they do have that professionalism aspect as well. So I think it totally determines like what is your kind of lifestyle that you feel comfortable with? Like, I know a lot of introverts actually do better working from home because they feel kind of like comfortable in their cozy space and they're able to get more work done. But I guess it depends, you know. But yeah, it's true. You also like learn in the office. You have no choice but to interact, absorb, reflect, project. So yeah, I totally agree.
So you got a lot of sun there, huh?
Yeah, I mean we have daylight savings, so I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I just noticed you were getting hit pretty hard with the sun.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Let's talk about building unicorn companies. Tell us a little bit about what is that. It sounds very magical.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So over the years, we've had the uh, pleasure, the luxury or pleasure to work with a lot of different types of companies, right? And some of them have been startups, and essentially, a unicorn company is a privately held startup that achieves a valuation of $1 billion or more. And we have been fortunate enough to work with a few of those companies where we started with them early on in their journey when they were looking to work with a marketing agency to help them scale, prove the business out, which in turn allowed them to attract more capital, which they needed to fuel the business and allow the business to continue to scale. And so we've been able to do that and sort of help businesses that were either pre-revenue or very early stage revenue companies grow to a point where they achieve the unicorn status, which has been something cool to do. It technically means we're sort of getting early exposure to some of these founders before they hit it big, right? When they're smaller, the business is a little bit smaller. I remember one example of that was one of our clients, former clients, not present clients, but Flexport, which is they're in the sort of logistics business. Um, they pre-unicorn status, we were sitting in a meeting with Ryan Peterson, who's the founder and CEO of that company, back 9 years ago, right, when they were very early stage or very early on their journey. And the team was small, so the fact that we were in a meeting with him uh, kind of talks about how much smaller the company was. Now, these days, we wouldn't be in a meeting with him, let's just say. He would be much too busy. He'd be on CNBC or doing something more important than sit in a meeting with us. But it's just fun because you get exposure to business leaders, owners, founders. You get to talk to them about their business, learn a little bit more about their journey, but also have a small role. I don't want to exaggerate our role in helping them achieve unicorn status, but we had a small role in helping them sort of grow and scale. Paid marketing. I can't talk specifics, but for that business was an important pipeline driver for them. And so we help them through paid marketing drive qualified leads to sort of create pipeline for their salespeople. So I think it's just part of the fun is really getting to that stage and to be able to say that you had a small role in helping that company achieve that status.
That's great. Yeah, that's wonderful. It's great insights. And I'm not sure if you touched about this, but yes, what navigating the challenges of client retention in volatile markets and the art
Mm-hmm.
of balancing professional triumphs with personal growth.
Yeah, I think client retention is is interesting. It's an interesting topic because we're obsessive once we bring on a client and retaining them, and relative to actual industry averages, we retain clients well above that. I think our average retention rate is um, 32 months. So in our industry, that's actually pretty good. In the business of sort of agency, it's a pretty good retention rate. So for us, because we don't have a constant flow of leads, we don't do really much inbound. It's all, sorry, we don't do much outbound. It's mostly inbound through network or word of mouth referrals. We don't have this sort of list of we don't have 30 people waiting to become clients. It's usually, 2 to 5 prospects at any given time. So what that means is for us, we're very obsessive over retaining our customers, and we'll go above and beyond to do that. So for us, it means we're very formal in our process. We have a lot of sophistication to the way we deliver our service. There's a lot of training and development that we provide our team who are on the front lines to be able to, work with customers and provide good service. Also, training and development around knowing the ad platforms so that they develop the hard skills needed to be able to deliver the service and drive the results. And ultimately, for us in business, what matters most for the clients that we work with are the results that we drive for their business. Secondarily, it's the relationship that we have with them. You need to have a good relationship with them. They need to look forward to talking to you weekly and having conversations with you. They need to have the trust and confidence in you that you have the knowledge and expertise to help their business scale. But at the end of the day, no matter how good our relationship is, we need to drive results, because if we don't drive results, our clients are typically under a lot of pressure to grow, and they need a partner they can rely on to do that. So if we can't do that, we typically end up getting fired. And frankly, even when we do that, we still might get fired, because it's that cutthroat of a business where even a client who we have a good relationship with and have developed record year over year results, at times they've also parted ways with us because they want to try something new, or that new or incoming head of marketing has a pre-existing relationship with an agency that they worked with previously, and they want to bring them in instead of us. So we spend a lot of time on our service delivery, making sure that our team is trained, um, and and really investing time in the things that move our clients' business forward, and not get sort of distracted with things that don't move the needle in terms of revenue.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's very interesting work you're doing and very important. And yeah, it's very inspiring as well. What is your advice for your younger self? Do you have any advice that you would give your younger self?
I would say something I did, but I would definitely have given myself advice to do more, is network, and really spend time building a network. Every week, have coffee with someone, get to know them. What was their path, and what did they learn along the way? And for me, it was always older people that were more experienced and successful than I was. And I like to surround myself with people that have done very well for themselves in life, both personally and professionally. And I would always love to study them and ask them a lot of questions, like, how did you achieve success? What is success to you, right? What are some things I can do to kind of move in that direction, right? So I always really gravitated towards, people that were older than me, that were successful in business, and I took sort of the time to reach out to them and ask them if they be open to do what I just described. So my advice would be spend time networking, building up your network, put the effort in, and also just be patient with your career. I think oftentimes people become sort of disappointed, or they get bummed out if things don't progress as quickly as they want or as their mind thinks it should. But really, in life, all good things take time. Nothing is instant, and the road to success, it's just going to be bumpy and lengthy. It's not something that you achieve overnight. So just be patient and focused, and get better, and learn. Ultimately, if you're really good at what you do, people will take notice. So focus on that.
That's great advice. I think it's wonderful to have the patience. It's always a great skill during the hard times, during the hard work, and as well as you mentioned, this multi generational connection, which is so amazing to be aware of that. The wisdom that we can learn from 100% is so inspiring and something that we can all aspire to look up to. And yeah, networking is so fantastic. I think it also challenges us to deal with our fears or insecurities, to go out there and to make that first move, to make the first impression, to see how it comes along. And if you have fear of failures, keep pushing forward and keep learning through your mistakes and through your wins. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing for sure.
Yeah. And and by the way, we're all in a similar boat. When I talk to other business owners, small, medium, large businesses, a lot of us are dealing with very similar challenges. um, Maybe at different scale, depending on how big or small we are. But a lot of our challenges are similar, and, know that a lot of what you're dealing with, someone else is dealing with too. It may not be unique to you, right? So oftentimes when you talk to other people that are in a similar situation, and you listen to their story, and how they have these struggles and they have these failures and they're dealing with similar challenges, I think it helps because oftentimes people feel like they're alone, and they're really not alone. A lot of people are struggling in very similar ways. And it really just comes down to, how do you manage through those stressful times, right? How do you cope with uh, these things, right? Because I think that's ultimately what separates the successful from the not successful, is kind of mindset.
Exactly, 100%. It's like so many of us were raised with this idea of a fixed mindset, but then once we are kind of open to learning more, open to discovering, we adapt hopefully to a growth mindset where, yes, there are waves of ups and downs. We have challenges, we have wins, we have successes. We have kind of moments where we don't know what's going on. We have moments where we feel like we are on top of the world. So it's like we have to kind of for sure navigate those experiences and keep a journal so you can be aware of what's happening and hopefully learn from all of your mistakes and your wins as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think stress is inevitable in life. I just talked to a friend of mine yesterday who is working for a company, and he had asked me for my advice. He's getting sort of pushed out, but it's not being said. And
Oh,
he's like, how do I navigate this? And I said, listen, don't expend too much energy on the things you can't control. Okay. So, what's the shortest path to getting an answer to your question? It's setting up a meeting with the person who is in charge. In this case, it was the founder, and just sit down with them and make it productive and make it constructive, and just ask very specific questions that matter to you. And it's hard and it's uncomfortable for some, but it's also very mature, and it will answer a lot of questions that today you don't know the answers to. And you may not like the answers, but at least you have some form of closure, or at least it gives you the opportunity to ask why, or propose an alternative or something, right? So I think in life, you know, a lot of, like, stress is inevitable, and as we get older and we have more responsibility personally and professionally, whether it's we buy a house, we have children, we get married, we start a business, we get a promotion, you're going to get more stress. So it to me, I don't consider stress to be a negative thing. I consider it to be normal and positive. And so that immediately, by embracing it, it becomes less of a burden on me because I accept it as normal. And I also choose to react and respond to things the way I want to, because I'm in complete control of how I react and respond to anything that I'm faced with, no matter how big or small. And I think focusing and not allowing your mind to play games with you, and not worrying about things that you cannot control, really helps you get through situations. Because for me, if it's something I don't influence or control, I don't waste my energy on it, because it just doesn't make sense.
that's really great advice, and it is hard because sometimes we use our emotions first, and we kind of take our logical minds and shove it to the back. But I like how you talked about being solution oriented and solution focused, because when we are going in circles complaining, it's like we're not going to find a solution quick. So I think that's really great advice for people who are just entering the business world, who are growing and evolving and expanding, is to have that mindset of solution. What is that perspective? And because it's so easy to complain, right? It's so easy to lose your head and just, go in circles and going towards the emotional route. But yeah, having the logic, having that discipline of being solution focused, it's so much faster. You reach newer places. Like I grew up dancing ballet, so it's like I had that discipline of doing the daily grind at the bar. We had point shoes every single day, like almost the same combination. So it's like
Yep.
this kind of expertise helps us to expand all over the map. So yeah.
I agree. And it's also like surrounding yourself with optimists and people that are positive and solution focused. I really believe that. That's not to say I'm not a realist. That's not to say that every day for me is great and I don't complain. It's that I tend to look at things half glass full, right? So if a client leaves me, even though I've done a good job for them, I don't let it bother me too much because the decision has been made and I just need to figure out what the go forward plan is. If an employee leaves me, but I've given them everything they asked for and more, and they still do it, right? I can't let that bring me down because I need to be focused on my mission and accomplishing my mission. And if there's a learning there, I'll take it, but I won't dwell on it. And I won't allow myself to be sort of affected to the degree where it distracts me from focusing on what is important to move the business forward. So I think it's really having a solution oriented mindset, being sort of half class full, being an eternal optimist. Not to say you can't complain and have bad days, but in general, that's how entrepreneurs sort of get through what is a difficult journey.
100%. Yeah, I love that. And exactly, like my podcast is all about this mindset of like spiritual growth. And with that mindset, you do have to kind of take accountability of the realization that yes, you might have failures, you might have rejections, but it's always like a redirection into something that you have to keep pushing through. And it's a journey of life for sure. I like your perspective about the solution oriented mindset, because then you're able to also personally grow from that space and not have that negativity, because sometimes people take everything personally and it halts their own growth towards achieving great things spiritually and materialistically. So yes, it's a wonderful thing to aspire to. And hey, you're doing great work. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story and your journey and your work with us. And where can people also connect with you and also see everything you're doing, your content?
Yeah, they can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm an author periodically on LinkedIn, but yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Borja Cuan, that's BorjaCuan, and also you can go to our website four15digital.com and learn more about our services and how we help businesses. And if you're interested in us doing an audit for free of your digital marketing programs, we can do that. You just have to fill out a short form on our contact us page on the website.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Borja, for coming on the podcast and sharing your expertise with the audience.
Thanks for having me.